Hey, is this thing on? Lance, Nick, ready? Can you hear me? Welcome to the Live Free and Hunt podcast. All right, Live Free and Hunt podcast, episode 24. We had Rob and Arron on. We went over their last season, talked about the story of Odd Job and Eric's buck he shot this year. And we talked to about Fam Bam Outdoors and what he's got going on. So let's get it.
Like a bad deck of cards that loves to lose. You don't listen to me, and I don't want you to, 'cause we sure have fun throwing my money away. You bet high, I bet low. You're all in and I'm all broke. Another paycheck down the drain.
All right, Live Free and Hunt podcast, episode 20-something. I don't know which one it is.
24.
But we got Rob and Arron in the house. They made a long drive over.
Fam Bam Outdoors.
Yeah, we and Hunter's Moon. You guys took an hour 45-minute trip over here.
Yep.
In the snow.
Yep. In the slop.
In the slop.
And I was the one that was late.
Yeah, Nick literally lives 20 minutes away.
Well, Arron said he was going to get to my house at 9. He was there at 8:30.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
So he was excited to come over.
Nice.
Well, not knowing what the roads are going to be like.
Yeah. Well, it's slowing up
Get
a little
out of
bit.
the house.
Yeah. A couple of real New Englanders.
Yeah.
Snow doesn't stop it. I want to talk about this past year. Both of you guys had some exciting things happen. Rob, I want to start with you, but
We could also, Arron first, since we had Rob on, we can see his background and
oh, let's do that then.
Let's do Arron first.
Arron.
Okay.
He's much more exciting than I am.
How'd you grow up hunting? Did you were you growing up hunting as a kid, or?
I did hunt as a kid. My dad didn't like it that much. He had a rough upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
Rather cut wood than hunt.
Yeah.
Never understood it.
I don't understand it.
Never understood it till later in life. When my brother and I didn't really start hunting hard until I started Ruger.
Yeah.
In '94. Buddy of mine there, he was big time hunter. We worked second shift, so I'd hunt with him. And he really got me into it. Got bit by the bug and really enjoyed it. And then I had about 10-year stretch where working second shift was not good for my body.
Yeah.
Between bad eating and stuff like that, I was overweight, and by the time I got on first shift in 2012, I dropped a considerable amount of weight, and then hunting became enjoyable.
Yeah.
And really, my brother and I started hunting pretty much self-taught. More deer around then than there was when I first started hunting.
How old were you when you were getting into it? Like when you said you went back to first shift?
Let's see. I was 2012. I was 29.
29?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But no, more than that. I was born in 73. Oh, well, I don't know what it figured up to be. Something
You're
like
just
30.
a little kid.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. I was just curious.
No, it was in my mid-30s.
Yeah. Okay.
Then really got into it and put more time in.
Yep.
Deer hunting was my favorite. I had a stretch where my brother got me into duck hunting.
Oh yeah, it's fun. Picking up decoys sucks though.
Yeah. Getting up before daylight and freezing your butt off, and then who wants to pick up decoys afterwards?
Mm-mm.
But no, I used to. I'm a crafty guy, so I made my own decoys.
Yep.
For
Cool.
5 years or so.
Pretty sweet.
You know,
Got to shoot birds over them too.
yeah, I got to shoot
that's
birds
awesome.
over them. So that was awesome. Then real passion was deer hunting though.
Yeah.
Then I met Rob and
Were you guys like sitting in stands or just poking around in the woods?
yeah,
at first?
most of our my brother and I when I was really into deer hunting was mostly stand hunting.
Yeah.
Never really did much still hunting.
Yeah.
Kind of knew the concept, but I'd move too fast through the woods,
Right, yeah.
and never really saw the woods for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe uncomfortable from not knowing,
Yeah.
or not doing it enough. Really,
Yeah.
is what it was. But then when I met Rob, he started taking, showing me the ways, and last year was awesome. So
Go over that hunt if you want to.
okay, yeah. So we had our first deer camp last year up to our camp, and
which was awesome.
Yeah. Do you guys do that every year, or was it like
that was the first. Well, we had
Tried to have it a couple of times, and there's always something that happens where we can't.
right.
That we met up at the camp that time
Yep.
to do first deer camp. What was it? Last year before?
2 years ago. Yeah.
And the heater didn't work.
Yeah, the heater,
And
heater
it was
shit the bed.
really cold.
Yeah.
So we said, well, I'm going hunting over here. You go hunting over there. We'll see you later.
Yeah.
That's how it ended up. But
Yeah.
Gonna make it an annual thing now, though.
Mhm.
Or
Oh,
try
Oh yeah,
to.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that was fun. Of course, I had the whole month of November off. I went down to Virginia, where my folks live, and they just moved there a year or so ago, and
Whereabouts in Virginia?
they're in the southwestern part of the state.
Okay.
They're just about 60 miles north of Bristol,
Okay. Yep.
mountainous area, 2,500 feet. They moved from Florida. They're originally from up here, but my dad got hurt and way back. And
Yeah.
they lived down there 23 years.
Wow.
So they moved up there. It was like, yes, man, now we
Yeah.
got a place to go hunt. And,
Right. Yeah.
And as luck would have it, it got in good with the next door neighbor, and he took us out and showed us areas. And my dad actually, the guy that hated hunting when we were kids, my brother and I, when we were hunting and we were having some success out of tree stands and stuff, introduced him to hunting out of a tree stand. And I mean, this is a guy that couldn't sit still for 10 minutes, and shot his first deer ever.
Awesome.
I want to say it was 2013, and then he shot another deer with us in 2017, and then he went down there and he bought his, he used all my guns and stuff.
Yeah.
When he got down there, he bought himself muzzleloader, bought a Ruger rifle, and last
So
year.
I know a guy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he'd used mine.
Yeah.
He came up in 2017 and he'd had a bout with kidney stones and he didn't know if he was going to make it, but he didn't end up making it, and he never went out and shot the gun. And I told him, I said, this gun is dead nuts.
Yeah.
And I said, you can go out and kill a deer with it. And sure enough, opening night of rifle season, he was sitting in a stand down below us, and a deer came in and he shot, and then he missed the first shot. And now he's left-handed, shooting a right-handed gun.
Yeah.
But that's the way he grew up, so he was used to it,
Use what you got.
And I hear, I heard him racking the
Yeah.
bolt, and then I heard pow again, and the deer took off. And I know I'm straying away, but
No, you're good. No, yeah, go ahead.
my wife and I are sitting in the stand together, and we can see the deer running away
Yeah.
down over the hill, and I'm saying, man, that thing don't look good. I said, I'm pretty sure he hit it.
Yeah.
And as it was running away, he shot again, and of course he's down there. Hey, I got one. I'm like, hold
Let's
on.
go.
I'm like, hold on, I'll be right down. So we get down there, and he's already out of the tree. I don't know if he jumped out or what, but he's on the ground. He's over.
your dad's like Superman. He flew out.
Yeah, he is. He is my hero. He is Superman. But we get down there, and he's on the. He's looking around, and he's like, he's right here when I shot. And I look down, and I see this tuft of white hair, and I go, oh no. I go, this is gonna not probably be good. So I told my wife, I said, oh, get out the toilet paper. I said, we'll start tracking this deer.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was a huge tuft of hair, white hair. So I told my wife, I said, you follow the blood, and my dad and I will be on each side of it, and we'll track it and see if we can find it. And it went right. We finally picked up the first spot of blood, and we got down over the hill, and he started bleeding pretty good. And he come to an old dry brook bed, and it looked like he'd fallen down. There was blood matted in the pine needles and stuff.
Yeah.
And I looked over towards the power line where it was real thick hemlock, and a deer picked its head up. And I say, "Hey, Poppy's right there." I said, "You better give him another one."
Yeah.
And he goes, "I'm out of bullets." So I'd had the magazine had 3 rounds in it, and that's all he had.
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay." So I took my gun, I finished it off, but that was pretty cool.
Good deal.
And then so fast forward to this past season, he shot deer down in Virginia, a nice big 8-pointer.
Nice.
With a muzzleloader.
Good deal.
And then I was on opening day of muzzleloader down there. And then 2 weeks later was opening day of rifle, and he shot a spike horn.
Wow, he filled the freezer.
And so, I mean, my dad's taught me a lot throughout my life.
Yeah.
And he's been my mentor, and with, teaching me how to work and stuff like that. But it was pretty cool to be able to be his mentor, as far as hunting goes.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome.
So it kind of was, last year was a pretty good year.
Yeah.
So then, anyway, I got back from Virginia, and just in time to have deer camp. And Rob and another guy that we hunt with, Caleb, come over, and I never saw a deer. I never saw a deer during deer camp. Actually, the last deer I saw was in September 25th. I missed with my crossbow.
Yep.
A week after my wife shot her deer out of the same stand. And of course, she got that all on video.
Oh, sweet.
So, but then, I went from September 25th until the day I shot my deer with Rob. Without seeing a deer.
Yeah.
But I was, I put a lot of time in the tree stands, and this area that I hunt out of a tree stand is, I figure that if I put enough time in, I will see something.
Happen, right?
And this year it just never did.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Saturday after Thanksgiving, Rob and I got together, and we went out and made the magic happen.
Yep. Well, you were still hunting that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Was it your first? You said you were still hunting, but you're moving too fast and previous.
If I was hunting by myself, I just, I know that you're supposed to go slow, but I never really knew how slow you had to go.
Yeah.
And I never saw anything, and if I did, I usually jumped
something.
Yeah. And then, of course, it was most of the time it was on dry ground. So.
Yeah.
But hunting with Rob's, he's mentored me in those respects, because now I have kind of confidence in knowing how fast I need to go and what to look for and stuff like that. So
I know Rob's a blind. You're not a tree stand guy, right? Blind or still hunting?
I hate trees. Well, I like trees. I don't like trees.
So what would like the biggest, when you're still hunting, what is like the biggest part of when you were trying to teach Arron here or mentor him?
Like you said, going slow, making sure that every step you take has to be something that's pre-planned.
Yeah.
When you're in the woods and you're trying to still hunt, my method is 3 steps and stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at everything, and you look at what's behind you, look everywhere, because it's just like shed hunting is you take 5 steps in one direction and you look behind you. Now everything looks different than you were when you were at that last spot. I've had probably 6 deer that I've shot still hunting have come in from behind me. And if I had just stayed paying attention to where I was heading, I would have missed them. So with still hunting, I think that the biggest thing you can do is go slow and look at everything. And you're looking for something that looks out of place or something moving. And being very precise with your steps. If you put your foot down and you feel something underneath it that might be a stick, you lift it back up and you move it to a different spot. You never try to sit it down and break sticks. Crunching leaves, I don't find that to be a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's really bad. But breaking sticks is the warning sound in the woods. You've heard it. You guys have been hunting and you hear snap, boom, and then a deer shows up.
Right.
Yeah. And that is your warning. But you hear leaves crunching, it's a squirrel. right?
Right.
Deer are the same way. They're stupid. People give deer way more credit than they deserve. Okay, everything that they do is instinct. So if you make a sound that they're used to hearing, you've got nothing to worry about. Movement is another thing. Arron tends to move his head and his arms a lot. He doesn't know that, but I watch him. If you move your hands and your arms, it's a warning. Or if you're moving your head too much. Everything has to be slow and smooth. It's like, okay, here's a great way to put it, because it's something that you see outside it's snowing. When you're driving in snow, do you jerk the wheel, or is everything smooth and slow? Still, hunting's the same way. Everything's smooth and slow. Smooth is fast, fast is slow, right? There you go.
It's a Frenchman in me.
Yeah. Go ahead and talk about more about your deer, I guess.
Okay, so we went into the spot we'd been in a couple times, a couple years prior to that, and we walked up the trail, and as we're walking up, Rob's got a nose like a bloodhound, and he's like, "Man, I can smell deer up here," and I'm like,
Lucky.
Yeah. And I'm like, he's like, "You smell that?" And I'm like, "I didn't," but I said I did. I guess, yeah.
I gotta smell it.
It wasn't me.
Do you shit your pants? No, I smell deer.
No, there was
How's the wind?
There were 3 does and 1 buck.
Yeah.
And I can smell that.
Yeah.
I could smell the does had come down through earlier, and you could see where we could actually see them in the wet leaves.
Yeah, imprints.
And I put him ahead of me. I put him on point, and we kind of went, with me at a 45-degree angle behind him. Followed the tracks, and you could see the tracks going up through, and then you could see this other track that was out of place. There was definitely a buck toe dragging, and you can smell a buck. I mean, when you smell does, what you're smelling is like that hemlocky smell, or the deer smell. Yeah. You smell a buck, you smell tarsal that time of year.
Yeah.
You smell the deer too, but you don't pick up on it as much because the tarsal is so strong at that point. So you can smell that, and you smell that sweetness of the doe, and then you smell that tarsal smell, and you can just tell, looking at the tracks, you put it all together. It's like being Sherlock Holmes. You just put that all together, and you make up a story in your head. You may be wrong. I've been wrong many times, but we were right that time.
Yeah. So going into this piece, you guys didn't know. You had an idea of where there, like, it was does previously bedding, or is it like a select cut, or why'd you choose it's just a walking path where you started in?
Oaks.
Yeah, oaks, and it's a big cut. It's a huge cut. It's a piece of property that we have access to that's owned. It's 632 acres.
Yeah.
It's actually public, so anybody can hunt on it. Mm-hmm. And the area we were in was an area that the deer, they come through between bedding and feeding in the morning, and they usually stay up 3/4 away on that bowl that's in there and cut across. The buck had come in from across the road, kind of where we had the truck parked. He had come in from there. Actually, I think he came in after we had came in the woods and walked by. I think he crossed our tracks and went up it. But
you guys all had trail cameras up there and stuff previously. Nothing. Just came up to that piece. You knew it from
previous
history,
years.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for full disclosure, the company that a person I work for owns it.
Yeah.
And we spend a lot of time up there.
Okay.
So just scouting. That's what
yeah.
made you pick that piece. Was scouting.
Yeah. We've had really good luck in this section seeing deer. It's a place with not a lot of deer. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's not a huge contingent of deer there, but what there is, I've gotten to the point where I've seen them so many times and I've been in there enough that I can kind of predict their movement that time of year, and obviously we were spot on this time.
Yeah.
So carry on. You're walking up that trail, and
we cut out another trail and cut some tracks, and Rob gives me the yep, I knew it, and of course we found a fresh pile of shit. So we started out through and worked our way up, across the brook and up an old log road where it was all, I guess last year he said it was knee-high grass, and this year it was all berry bushes. And you could see the trails where the moose and the deer had been, and we started working our way up to that 3/4 point, and we'd stop every so often because he don't want to kill me, and we have little discussions. Like I said to him, well, what can I shoot up here? because it's kind of your area.
Yeah.
I'm a deer Nazi. I mean, I don't mean to be mean about it, but I have certain projections in my head of each area that we manage, of what I want to shoot and what I don't.
Right.
I mean, if there's a spike or a fork that comes down that I don't see in my head, everyth's in my head. It's goony, right? Everything I see in my head, I can see what its future is in a way. And if it's a deer, I go, yeah, that one's gonna die anyways. Just shoot it. But if it's a deer that I feel it's got potential to be something special,
yeah,
I kind of don't want him to do it. But I the other thing is, I also, knowing Arron, he feels good about shooting anything. So basically, I just say no spikes.
Yeah.
Anything else, I just didn't want him to shoot a spike because I
You
wanted
never
him
know
to
what's gonna.
right.
Yeah.
And I knew the area enough to know that there's some crackerjack deer in there.
Yeah.
And if you shoot a spike and then we're dragging it down the other side and this huge 12 or something pops
Son of a
out,
bitch.
you're really not going to you're going to be upset with yourself, and I don't want Arron to be like that. I want him to be happy with what he shoots. So I guess I was being a deer Nazi, but whatever.
It was fine. I mean, it's like, yeah, if we had deer in the freezer, so it was like not like it was pressing to kill something.
Right.
We like deer meat, so
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what we discussed.
Yeah.
We got deer meat in the freezer.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
But he's like, yeah, if you do see a spike, you might want to let it go because there might be Mr. Big behind it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we'd stop, shoot the ship for a few minutes, and then, okay, let's go start up the hill. And we got up to just about the 3/4 way point, and it opened up into an old cut. And you see on the video that Rob was facing towards the left, and I was happened to be facing towards the right, and we'd been hearing blue jays all morning behind us, so we kept checking our backtrack and making sure the deer weren't coming in behind us. And I was like, man, I hear something walking. And I said, you hear something walking? He's like, nah, it's a woodpecker. Just,
Yeah.
he's like, no, it's a woodpecker. And I'm like,
we've got to tell that part of the story too, because I had shot a 357 Magnum, and not too long before this, and I went deaf in my right ear.
Yeah.
Sarah's deer.
He's deaf in his right ear.
No, left ear.
His
My
left
left,
ear.
yeah.
And so he can't hear this way, and I can't hear this way. So it worked out good. I'm looking like this, he's looking here.
Yeah.
But he had said he'd heard that, and I heard the woodpecker go off, but I couldn't hear anything else on this side. So it was pretty funny, and then it just worked out good.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
It was,
I'm like, nah, I can hear something walking.
You guys did that in the video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And I was like, no, I can hear something walking. And I could see over the top of the berry bushes, and I see, the ass end of a deer walking away. And I go, Rob, there's a deer right there. And so he pulls out the grunt call and starts blowing on it. And so I pushed him behind me and stepped out in front of him. And, with Oddsy, he'd blown the grunt call, and Oddsy came out looking to kill somebody.
Yeah.
So I'm like facing that way, thinking, okay, maybe this guy's gonna do the same thing.
Right.
And nothing happened, and there was a bunch of brush and stuff to the left of him that I think he got behind. And then Rob hammered again with the grunt, and all of a sudden we see him bounding up the hill, and I was like, oh shit. But I did see a big rack, decent rack, and I was like, all right. And I'm like, come on, please stop. And he did. He stopped right at the edge of the cut.
Oh,
of course, his head was behind not a big deal, but his head was behind a tree. And I just pulled up and shot, and I don't think, to this day, I don't even know what the hell I was aiming at. Rob's like, give him another one. And that time I took my time and made sure that I could see the front sight behind his shoulder. And I squeezed. Of course, I didn't know at that point. And he took off up the hill, and he got up to the top, and there was some hemlock trees up there and some berry bushes, and that's where I lost him. I couldn't see him anymore. And Rob's like, no, he's heading across the top.
I'd see him go up, and once he got to that peak, he kind of staggered a little bit, and then he turned and went back towards the wood line. So I was like, and I knew he hit him because you could see when he's aiming, of course, but I'm watching the deer. Should have been watching it in the camera.
Yeah.
But it's one of those
happens.
things.
Yeah. How many times I've done that?
So I'm sitting here. I got the camera. Well, you see in the video where I've got the camera like this, and I'm looking at the deer, and then I realize, oh crap! You finally see me bring the camera up, but the deer the first shot, it just stands there, and I was like, okay, well, the deer's used to hearing thunder, lightning, or whatever else. But that second shot, when he hit him, that deer, you could tell he hit him.
Got hit, yeah.
And he went. The funny part was the way he ran right off the bat. He went up the hill, and then when he turned over the top, I was like, he's going back down, but the other side's really steep. Mm-hmm. So I says he's heading back down that other trail on the other side. So then he was worried. He was, I didn't hear him. Oh no! I was like, no, you got him. Tell him what you. Okay, so I've hunted with a lot of guys that can shoot.
Yeah.
Garrett, don't ever make Garrett try to shoot you, because you're going. That kid can pick the wings off a fly. But this guy here doesn't give himself enough credit. This kid can shoot. Okay, so he's shooting that marlin.
Yeah.
With the peep sight on it.
Mm-hmm.
75 yards, standing up.
Freehand.
And if you see where the first shot, I think he flinched, or he was just nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a rush shot. So.
But the second shot, if you see where he hits that deer and he tells you where he aims it, you're gonna go, damn, that kid can shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pinpoint accuracy.
Yeah, when we found him, it was like, oh yeah, man.
Sweet, yeah.
I mean, perfect, like right through both lungs, clean pass through, and the blood was.
Yeah, blood looked like a blood smoothie.
Oh yeah.
It was just whipped.
Oh, yeah.
And thick and weird looking. Almost like I don't know how to explain it, like a foam.
Right.
Yeah, it was
Real
like a paint
real
thick.
Bright paint foam.
Yeah.
It was perfect, and he's still worried because there wasn't a ton of it. But I'm looking at that first blood, and I'm like,
he's gonna die.
He's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, I haven't shot enough deer to know. I mean, Rob being a tracker and everything too, the dog tracker, sees all kinds of blood, and all the deer I've shot, and it ain't a lot of them. Most of them have been shot and they drop, or they go within eye shot.
Right.
And, this was the first deer. Second, well, other than the dog deer.
What caliber was that?
That was my 30-30.
30-30?
Yep. I had in 2015. That's how I actually met Rob and Diane, was through dog tracking.
Okay.
My brother hit a deer that year with the bow, and that was the first time we met. And then Halloween night, opening day of muzzleloader, I shot a doe, and classic drop like a rock shot.
Yeah.
Spine tingler. Got down out of the tree, dropped it. Of course, with a muzzleloader, you don't have a follow-up shot right off. So I got the gun loaded, and she'd dragged herself behind some brush. I was like, damn. So I lowered the gun down out of the tree, jumped down, start heading over towards where she is, and me being a meat hunter, don't want to, blow up the back straps.
Yeah.
She's laying with her legs away from me, and all I can see is her back, and she's just moving around. And in hindsight, I should have just poked her right between, shoulder blades, but not wanting to ruin the meat, I took and stepped around this tree, and I get 1 foot around the backside, and she jumped up and took off like she was shot out of a cannon. I was like,
oh boy.
I'm like, what? And my brother gets up to me, and I must have looked like a cartoon character with my jaw on the ground. I'm like, not saying anything. He's like, where is it? I go, it just took off. He goes, I thought you dropped it. I go, I did. And we went and we lost blood, and then we called Rob and Diane, and they came over, and we ended up finding it. I hit her above the spine, broke one of those fins, and it went right straight through. But just the shock of it dropped her like a stone.
Yeah. Finish up on your this year's.
Okay. Yeah. So we just Rob tracked, and I was marking with toilet paper in case we needed to call a dog in.
Yeah.
And when we got up to the top where it made the sharp right back into the wooded section, then all of a sudden we found blood that
there was a lot of blood.
Like
there
a
when it got
opened up.
Yeah, like a blind man could follow.
Yeah.
and he kept telling me, okay, just get your gun ready in case he jumps up, follow it down, follow it along. So I'm looking like way down through the woods trying to see where it is, and he goes, hey bud, your deer's right there. It was. I was like, oh my God.
Best
And then,
feeling.
then of course, he breaks out the video camera, and I can't go and look at it right off because we gotta tell the story.
Right.
And
That's the beauty of filming. It calms you down.
Yeah. It slows you down a little bit, yeah.
but it was cool.
Nick shot his deer with I'm glad you said that it was a 75-yard shot because Nick was kind of worried about this year. The deer he shot was what?
40 probably. So I've always wanted a marlin.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I just got married this past August, and my wife got it for me.
Nice.
30-30 marlin.
Congratulations. On
So
both items.
Yeah. So I passed up a couple deers, muzzleloader with Ty and Lance,
Yep.
because I wanted to use that gun. Well, the buck came in around 40, and I was pretty calm. I wasn't moving, so I pulled, and he just dropped. But he was still, I spined him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whatever. So all I hear is I shot him again, and it felt like he was gonna die. And then I hear a whistle, and it's these two. I'm like, where the hell did you guys just come from? They started like 5 miles down.
Wow.
We were just kind of still hunting a ridge, and then
But looking for sign too.
Right.
we didn't know where
Find
Nick
that
was
area.
hunting. Like I knew the general area,
Yeah.
and then so me and
We
Nick,
didn't think we made that much ground that quick.
No, we were- yeah.
We just
we found a
kept
scrape.
going.
Like let's just rattle here for a couple minutes, and all of a sudden, it's fat. It's close enough where it's like, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, hit the deck.
But
I'm like, that's gotta be Nick.
I was so glad I think I passed that same deer up, because it was
Darn
it was a
muzzleloader.
6, and at first I thought it was a 4. So I looked at it when I got it, and I'm like, dude, I passed that deer up a muzzleloader.
yeah.
And he came. It was in the same area.
Yeah.
But you
I
were
was-
worried about the knockdown power of the 30-30.
Right.
And I was
Well, I
like,
was skinning the deer out, and then I found one of the bullets still like lodged in like a fatty piece. Didn't break the other skin. It was
Yeah.
lodged in between the skin and the meat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this was either the first shot or it had to be either one of the second shots, but
Yeah.
it was closer up. I
Right.
was just surprised it didn't go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of it depends on your ammo.
yeah.
believe it
so
or
that's
That was.
I was gonna talk
Yeah.
about what you're shooting greens because I don't know what
I think
you
that was a
shooting. Core locks?
165 Hornady.
I like heavy. I like 170s.
Yeah.
He was shooting 150s. 150s are devastating because of their velocity change. They're faster.
Yeah.
So, and I've killed I think 2 or 3 with 150s because I couldn't find 170s, and boy, they I don't see a whole lot of difference. I just feel better with the 170s,
Yep.
and that's what my gun shoots better. And a lot of times you'll find, like especially with the lever guns, and maybe I know the Ruger Americans are the same way. They like one kind of bullet and not the other.
Right.
Yeah.
But then it could be different guns. I mean, I have one gun that shoots the Winchester silver tips like you were shooting,
so-
like slick. Then you throw the Remington into it, and it kind of it's okay.
Yeah. So
But Betsy, the one that I shot Oddsy with, that thing likes 170 grain Remington core locks, and that's what it shoots.
Yeah.
Good. So sometimes it helps to grab a couple different boxes
Play
and
with
just
them.
play with
Yep.
them and see. But
well, I was so pumped to get out with it, so that's all I had.
I would, if you can find them, you know how it is with ammo today.
Yeah.
If you can find those ballistic silver tips, I'm impressed with those. Those
Yep.
are wicked.
I got
bullets.
lucky with that. I told the girls, I said, hey, pick me up some 30-30 rounds when you're out, and those are the only things that's all I
what
could
it
find.
It's
Yeah.
hard
And
past year.
we ended up going up to the camp there when we did that video of our guns,
Mhm.
and I got it sighted in with those, and it loved it. I
Yeah,
mean, that gun loved it, but it hated your Remingtons.
Yeah, I didn't like the.
It hated the core locks.
Yeah, which is weird, but
Yep.
I mean, that's just how it goes with those guns. Every gun I have is pre-64,
Yeah.
so I don't know if it like I've always heard that a lot of those older guns shoot cast bullets better than jacketed too. So it could be that. I don't know how old your Marlin is.
New. Just
Brand
yeah.
new one.
Oh, it's a Remlin then?
336.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. So a lot of those come factory. They do a lot of the stuff with the Marlins were with Hornaday.
Okay.
I know they.
That's what
they-
I was
the
shooting
lever,
out of it.
The lever revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know they did a lot with those.
Because that was my mother-in-law had a whole box. She's like, "Oh, here you go." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
thanks."
Yeah.
I found with my guns they shoot high.
Yeah.
Because they're flatter shooting, they got more velocity.
Maybe that's why it's find it.
It could
No,
be.
that's because no mind.
Huh? What?
Say it in.
Well, that thing was dead on. Don't worry, right out of the box. But go ahead.
Who needs sights? Who needs sights?
Right.
You just point it.
Yeah, I know you're running the peep sight.
Yeah, I got the Williams.
Of course, I'm running the old buckhorn
Buckhorns,
sights.
yeah.
My problem is I want to put a peep on them, but for those really old guns like mine, they're not drilled for it, and I'll be damned if I'm going to drill
Yeah.
those old guns
peep
out.
insert, yeah.
So there's a few options I can run. Like they have one peep sight from one company that slides into your buckhorn
Yeah.
in the dovetail, and I might try one of those, but I can't do that to Betsy because she's just. I can shoot that gun. Literally, I can shoot that gun without looking at the sights.
Yeah.
It's
Just shoulder it's there. Boom.
I've shot it so much. I've shot so many deer with it. It's instinct now with that gun. My other guns, some of them have the old bladed sight with the pin in them.
Yeah.
So those I've really got to aim because I'm not used to those type of sights. I just picked up my grandfather's 1901 Model 94 in 30 WCF, 26-inch octagon barrel.
Oof.
It is a tank,
Yeah.
but
I
it was
was gonna
his
say.
gun. He shot all his deer with it, and I reacquired it. Aaron's going to fix the couple issues that the last person who had it didn't take very good care of it.
Yeah.
So I want to get it back so I can shoot a deer with it and then retire it.
That'll
My
be cool,
brother shot
yeah.
his first deer with it. Grandfather shot his first deer with
No
it.
shit.
I'm going to shoot my first, not my first, but
I'm going to shoot the first deer.
yeah, I'm going to shoot that first deer with it and then retire it and put it up because it's just 1901.
Yeah.
It's all forged equipment, and I'm not worried about it breaking, but it's just it's so cool.
Right,
Awesome.
yeah.
It's
That's
awesome.
pretty
Marble
cool.
sights on it. It's just sweet. I love that gun.
You want to go into the history of Oddsy
Oddsy.
and what happened to him this year?
Sure. Oddsy was a buck that I started getting pictures of in about 2017. He's always been a short, squat tank of a deer. Even at 3.5, he was just, you could see that deer had something.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about earlier, you see a deer, an 8-pointer is an 8-pointer to most people, after you shoot enough of them, and you're like, just an 8-pointer. But that deer, that deer had something.
Yeah.
It's like you get like 6 guys in a room, and the guy that's going to end up being a famous guy, you just know because he's got that charisma. There's something about him, right?
Yeah, right.
So same with deer. I look at pictures of deer, or I see deer, I watch them, and I go, that's the one. That's him. And he came into the picture, and I was like, wow, that deer's on the don't shoot list. Can't shoot him now. He's got a long ways to grow. So I had pictures of him that year quite a few times in the apple orchard and a few times in the field. Actually, he was in a huge bachelor group that first season. There were 12 bucks in that bachelor
No
group.
shit.
And 3 of the 12 that were in it were beasts. Made him look tiny. One got shot. One disappeared, so he might have got shot. And the other one, I have no idea what happened to those 3 big ones. But so Oddsy went about his business. That winter, never saw him during a hunting season. I'm trying to remember what I shot that year for deer. That's pretty bad when you can't remember. I'm not bragging.
It was a 10-point or something, right?
No, not that year. This is 2017, so 2018 I shot the 10.
Okay.
Oh, I shot an 8. Just another 8.
Another 8.
No, actually, that was a pretty cool one up on the mountain. But no, so I didn't see him, and I never had him on camera again. Didn't have him on camera that spring, but that winter, in 2017, December 2017, I picked up a shed, really early, and the squirrel had already chewed the crap out of it.
Really?
It had dropped. There's blood right there on the snow. There was blood on the base, and the squirrel had already chewed the end of it. But I recognized it because the first year I ever saw Oddsy, he had a split G3 on his right side. I was like, oh, I got that shed, I looked everywhere for his second one, could never find it. Oh, well, I got one, right? So then he disappeared. I didn't see him all season, didn't have him on camera, nothing. I said, coyotes might have got him. So I went about my business. started seeing that little 10, that pretty boy 10 I called him.
Yep.
A lot, and then I had a monster 8, huge monster framed 8, and I have a 10 pointer on the property that he shot his deer on this year. That's 170 inch.
Jeez,
so that was a deer I was really looking for. So didn't worry about oddsy. Figured if he showed up, he showed up. So 2018 swings around, the 10 pointer. I see the 10 pointer all the time. I see this deer. It was almost
in when you're hunting or on camera.
Hunting, mowing the lawn, weed whacking,
There
doing
he is.
whatever. He's just there. He's eating all the time. I see this 10 pointer, and of course in velvet he looks, every deer looks giant in velvet. He looks big, so I'm like, okay, well, I think I'll let him pass. 2018, I'm sitting in a tent blind. The 10 pointer comes down, walks up, let him pass. He comes in and checks a scrape by me. I let him pass. So I'm sitting there watching him dub around one day, sniffing does, and all of a sudden this gigantic bodied monster buck comes down, and his rack didn't look real big, but his body was a tank. I'm like, what is that? Of course, I'm in my tent blind. I got a bow. That thing's 60 yards out, and he crosses in front of me and goes down, follows this big old doe. Never see him again. I'm like, that is a huge buck. What buck was it? So I wait and I wait and wait, and finally I get a day that I got some crappy weather and stuff, and I wasn't going to sit, and I went down the road where that deer had crossed, grabbed the camera, picked it up. It's odd job.
It was him.
I'm like, he's back.
It was 2 years he just disappeared? Was it 2 years?
It was one whole, I call it, my years all run together because they're split up from catfish season, turkey season, catfish season, hunting season, shed season. That's my year. That's how I split it up. So yeah, there was one season that he was not just there, gone. Didn't get his sheds, nothing. So he I was after him that year. I kept trying to find him. I thought I was on him. Now that 10 pointer had a huge foot for this 150 pound deer. It had this big foot. So what had happened was, on my lawn I have 4 or 5 apple trees, and they were bumper crop. So every night during the deer season, the deer are on the lawn eating the apples. So I put cameras out there. Oddsy's coming to the apple tree. The 10 pointer's coming to the apple tree. Then we get some snow.
Damn.
So I'm like, okay, this is going to be tit. No problem. Got it figured out.
Yeah.
Gonna get.
I feel like I always think that, and then the season starts.
You have to picture. I've always found with hunts, I have to picture the thing. I can see it in my head before it
visualize
happens.
everything.
Yeah.
And the more I visualize it, the more it comes true.
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds crazy.
No, I've done it. I pictured it, but it didn't.
It makes everything. It makes you sit longer. It makes you stay out there if you visualize it.
It gives you the confidence to do what you got to do and know that everything you're going to do is right.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. So I says to Diane, I says, I'm going to get out in the morning. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to check my camera, and I'm going to see the deer and see who came, and then I'm going to follow the biggest track, and that's going to be his. Well, lo and behold, he didn't show up that night on the camera, but there was a big track. So I'm like, well, maybe he didn't get in front of the camera. So I followed the track up. I'm going. Actually, that morning that I shot the 10, I decided I was going to try to swing around the back side of the mountain. You see it in the video of me driving up into town, taking those cool pictures of the fog over the lake and all that crap. B-roll, they call it.
Yeah.
And I go up this hill, no tracks on the backside, so I knew he didn't come down that way. So I swung back around, parked, got on the track, went up, and then I shot that 10-pointer. The funny thing was, I thought I was on Oddsy that whole time. His track, that deer's track.
You just assumed that was the biggest track there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that 10-pointer's foot was big for his size, huge for his size. And Oddsy's foot's like John Wayne's feet, small for his size.
Yeah.
He had big foot, don't get me wrong, but it was for his body size, he had smaller feet. So I follow that big track up there, and I'm going to get my odd job. I didn't call him odd job at the time.
Yeah.
I just, that big 8, I called him, or 9. I think he was a 9 that year. So I got up in there, and I see that deer, and I shoot the 10-pointer. I'm like, that's not the one.
That's not the one.
But it's a great deer.
Yeah.
And I was happy as I mean, that was the last day last afternoon of rifle season, I was happy as hell for that deer.
Wow.
Don't get me wrong. I know I come up once you shoot Oddsy, everything else is
Yeah.
right. So I shouldn't say that because I respect every single deer I've shot.
Yeah.
But me trying to be entertaining, I guess. But anyways, to get on with it. So I had a friend who had seen Oddsy quite a bit and wanted that deer in the worst way. Now, I'm not going to say that I undercut him because I didn't, but I wanted him too.
Yeah.
And I just felt that I had a better shot at it because I understood the deer better.
Yeah.
And I was going to understand him even more coming through the season. So what I did was every camera I own, 30 cameras, was set around his area. I wouldn't go in his bedding area. I wouldn't go in his core. And I knew where it was because I found his sheds. So rewind a minute. That year that I was after him, then I saw him come down the hill, and I shot my 10-pointer. I found both his sheds because he dropped one. He came down the hill one night, ate, and disappeared. He came back the next night. He didn't have his shed. So I backtracked him and found that shed. There's a video for that too. And I know I keep talking about the videos because they're my life now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I found that shed, came down. He carried that stinking thing for a week.
The one antler?
The left side.
Yeah.
Carried it for a week. And then one night during a snowstorm, I'm watching him through my bedroom window. He's out eating apples. And the next thing I know, a snowplow's coming. He freaks out. He runs. He jumps the ditch and disappears. Comes back the next night, no antler. I'm like, yeah, I got to get up there. So I take the dog. It was a Sunday. Take the dog up. We went everywhere, following his tracks. Never found his shed. Matter of fact, I jumped him, and I said, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Where's his shed? And you always get this thought in your head that sheds are magic and they hide on you.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you guys get that, but it's like, he hid them. He put them under something. You know, they don't really do that. But so I'm coming back down the mountain. I get across the road. I take the dog off the leash. I turn him free. We're going to swing around the back part of my lawn and go to the house. I look down. I'm dubbing with the camera. I look up. He's got the antler in his mouth.
No shit.
So what had happened was when he spooked from the snow plow, he jumped the ditch, dropped the antler right there, and then went up across the road.
No way. That's crazy.
So it was 100 yards from my house.
Yeah.
So I got both sheds. Now I have the magic in my hands.
Yeah.
Now I know I'm going to get this deer. So because of the sheds and going up there and finding the shed hunting him, I knew his core. I knew the points he was betting on. I knew how he was using the mountain. Of course, that has to do with the 25 years I've hunted that mountain. And I knew how he was going to course through there. So what I did is all the cameras were set up around him in places that he expected to find human scent. Logging roads that we use a lot, regular travel paths, field edges where we hay, anything like that where he knew he was going to run into human scent. I had the cameras there to see what times, how he was moving, and I would slowly move them in as far as I dared them to go until I figured out his paths moving. I set up a tent blind in June in a spot that I had pictures of him every single day coming through early in the morning. And I set it up, I hid it, I brushed it in, you couldn't see it. He kept walking past that tent blind all summer into the early fall. September 15th comes, I sit in my tent blind, I have, I don't know how many does, if you've seen that video, with all the does.
Yeah, back and forth.
And I'm waiting. Well, early that morning, after some of the does had come through, he came from behind me and went down through the woods where I couldn't shoot. Obviously 50 yards to the woods, but you could see because of the logging roads.
Yeah.
I'm watching him. I'm like, you son of a gun. He never went back by that tent blind in daylight. Never. I had the zero trace going. The wind was in my favor. He never winded me. He nothing.
Yeah.
What it was is he caught my in path on that road. Fresh. He had caught my scent in there a bunch of times, checking the cameras, and kept using it because it was afternoon. He caught my scent at 4:30 in the morning when I came in, or I think it was like 3:30.
Yeah.
I'd come in. He caught my scent early in the morning. He says, something's wrong. He says, there's something not right. and he avoided that.
So that changed. That one incident changed his whole pattern.
Everything. And then from then on, anytime I saw him from that tent blind, he was 80 to 100 yards out in the cut. Would not come near it. And I only sat that thing 4 more times after that. And after that, I pulled the tent blind and got out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as the story goes...
Were you still getting pictures on
other cameras?
Other cameras, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I'd go in and check him. He wouldn't bother him.
Yep.
If it was during the middle of the day. If I went in there first thing in the morning, I set up a tent blind in a different spot, down closer to water, because he was snaking down through on this this little ravine. That he had a draw coming down, and he was on the high side of that draw, and he'd come down to the pond, and he'd drink in this little nasty spot that kind of like a swamp off the pond, and then he'd head back up on the hill in the morning. I went in there and set the tent blind up near that, snuck in there early in the morning when he's supposed to come in. He come in from a different way, caught my scent coming in again, and never drank there again. Drank on the you go down into the... So I'm sitting here going, this deer has got my number, so I'm going to have to think about this. So I pulled right out. I stopped hunting it. I stopped bow hunting it. I put all my stuff away. I says, I'm not hunting him with my bow now.
Yeah.
I'm done. Because I don't think I can outsmart him by doing what I'm doing. I'm going to have to go in and actually get him.
Yeah. He's not going to come into 40 yards for you.
Absolutely not. The best chance I had was that first morning, and I would have had to come in a different way. But I didn't know there were, you only know so much from your cameras and so much from watching that there's a lot of unknown. And it was too much of a risk for me to change too much because I didn't want to blow him right out of there altogether and then have somebody else get him, you know? So we went to camp, and Arron knows. I was at camp, and the whole time I was at camp, I'm on biting my nails. I'm nervous. It's opening a rifle.
Every social media post, you're like zooming in.
Honest to God, I had Diane on patrol.
Yeah.
And anytime there's some 200-pound deer would be shot in the area, she'd be looking for the pictures.
Yeah.
Because it would have changed the way I hunted everything. I had an ulterior deer that ended up getting shot during muzzleloader. So, but I just wanted him.
Yeah.
I didn't care about anything else. And the whole time I was at deer camp, I said, something really special is going to have to come out to me to shoot it with my gun. Yeah. I mean, it's going to have to be, Bambi's dad.
Like
is good,
some big, giant, non-typical.
Right. Yeah, something that I'm never going to see again. So anyways, I said, well, rifle season's going to be it. And, of course, we didn't have snow, so now I can't track him.
Yeah.
I says, well, the one common factor was there's a saddle at the top of the hill, the place that I hunt. I've shot probably 17 deer in that saddle over the years. It's just a major path.
Yeah.
And that was the common denominator in this whole thing, is he used that every single day. Night, day, morning, evening. He was back and forth through there all the time. And he bedded on the point on the far side of it. It was just one of those places. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get in there. I'm going to shoot him in his bed. Bull crap. I was never going to get it because he was set up in like his fortress. There was no way to get to it. The thermals were in his favor. He could see all around. You weren't getting him.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, the only thing I can do is cruise up through here once the rut hits and hope that the does, when they come through, they drag him with them.
Yeah.
So the morning that it happened, I had a pre-planned strategy of how I was going to attack the hill. I get up, the first thing I do, and I don't know about you guys, what's the first thing you do when you get up in the morning other than have a cup of coffee and take a crap?
Looking at the weather.
Bam! So I'm looking at the wind, and I'm looking at what the sun's going to be doing that day. Is it going to be cloudy or is it going to be sunny? Because that's going to determine how I have to use the thermals. Thermals are more important than wind direction, because that's how the deer, when they set up to bed or they set up to move on a ridge, they use the thermals to move. So I got up, I checked the weather. I says, I had like 4 or 5 different ways I could do this. And I says, okay, I got to do it with this one right here, which was good because it was the one I'd been practicing. So I went up in, heard something, thought it was going to be a deer. It turned out to be that coyote. Let him go. Got up a little farther, and I'm going slow, creeping along, and I get in text. Nothing more I hate than that phone vibrating my leg, because it could be an emergency and whatnot. So pull it out, and it's this joker over here. One of our friends had an issue with a deer, and he wanted to know get some advice. So I literally break all rules.
Hop on the cell phone real
and
quick.
I called him back because it was an important enough issue that we needed to talk about it.
Yeah.
So we talked about it, and I'm being as quiet as I can. I hang up the phone, and I'm praying to God. I'm like, please, forgive me this intrusion because this was bad. And put the phone back, gathered my stuff up. I took 4 steps and blew a deer up. I was like, where the hell did he come from? He was bedding down right within ear distance of me.
Yeah.
He heard me talking. And until I moved, he didn't jump up. It was a 6-pointer. As a matter of fact, it's the 6-pointer that I got the match sheds from the other day. He jumped up, looked at me, blew at me, and ran off. I'm like, well, that's bad. Oh, well. I says,
Turns out that's bad.
I said, I'll just keep going. So what it is I came out of this section. It's all select cut on the top, and there's like little holes of pine, and it's not pine, it's balsam and spruce up there because we're pretty high. And I cut through these roads, and then there's the long log tote road that cuts straight across and then goes down the main log trail. So I'm like, well, I could see where I needed to go, and so I was just gonna cut up this road a little bit and then cut up onto the next bench. I started up that road, and straight ahead of me is the front of the bowl on that saddle, and I see a deer about 3/4 of the way up that going across. And I couldn't tell if it was a buck or a doe. I just could tell it was a deer. So I'm watching, and it kind of gets around the point there and disappears. So I take a few more steps, and I says, well, whatever that deer is up here. If it's a buck, I'll grunt. I will see what it is, and I'll film it. So I pull out here we go with some shameless promotion, Fam Bam grunt call. And I just hit it once. I just whop once. And I can hear it crashing. I was like, I just blew one out. Or I was thinking, actually, I think it was that was 6-pointer just took off. All of a sudden, I see movement coming down the benches, and at the bench to my left, he just steps out, and he's standing there, and he's all huge rack, and I'm like, that's him.
I don't know what to do.
That's him. And I just kept saying it. That's him. That's him. That's him. And I'm shaking, and I slammed on the brakes. I says, this is it.
Get your shit together.
Yeah. This is what you've been planning.
Yeah.
And he stood there for quite a while, and I didn't want. So picture this: I'm in the middle of a tote road. There's no bushes. There's a bunch of junk brush in front of me.
Yeah. Nothing to
I'm
break
in the
up your
wide
silhouette.
open,
Yeah.
and he's right there. So I'm thinking, I'm busted. So I bring the gun
what
up.
is he now? What, 40, 60 yards away?
At the distance, he's 100 yards.
Oh, okay.
And so I bring the gun up, and I'm aiming, and I was like, I can hit him, but I really don't want to at that distance because I can't tell if there's something between us. And it's open sights.
Yeah.
So I wait, and he just kind of angles down, and he's all like this, and then he goes completely calm, wags his tail, and gets all, I shouldn't say he was calm. He wags his tail, and he stiffens, like a bodybuilder. He stiffens up. His hair's all standing on end, and he starts coming down the hill with that.
Like stiff-legged, yeah.
And it's a steep hill, but he's still strutting down that hill. And he comes out and stands 75 yards in front of me, wide open, broadside, posturing, looking for who it was who was grunting. Mm-hmm. And I shot. And he fell right there. Boom. That was it. He never moved again. And everything that I had planned went wrong.
Yep.
I wasn't a ninja.
Yep.
I made noise. I scared a deer.
Bumped a coyote.
Bumped the coyote. Actually, the coyote didn't even know I was there until he walked up and sniffed my leg. And
Yeah.
peed on it.
Yeah.
But he, honest to God, it was one of those things that all the planning, it worked, but then again, it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to say it, but it was divine intervention.
Right.
In your mind, did you want to be? Were you thinking that you were going to be above the deer before they were?
That was my plan, was to try to get up on the mid bench, because like I said, there's 3 or 4. I think there's 4 benches there, and I wanted to be at least at the second highest bench
Before the sun heated up
the thermals. But what I think had happened was he had been harassing the does so much that he had come up, because the deer I saw was a smaller buck, that after I shot him, I saw it came across the top and then took off. It was a smaller 8-pointer. I don't know which one it was, but they were obviously, there must have been some does.
Everybody's corralling in that.
Yeah, and they were all in that. It's a big bowl. I don't know how to explain it, but if you go like this, there's a ridge here and a ridge here, and then a ridge that goes up, saddles, and then drops into a big 10-year-old clear cut. And they were in that section in the pine. And the coolest part was where he fell was a trail that he used all the time, that I had pictures of him tons of times. Rubs, like on trees like this, where he would rub the trees coming down through. There was ground scrapes. It just was this cool spot that I had shot so many deer in that bowl. There was no other place I would rather have shot him.
Right.
And then again, I didn't want to shoot him.
Yeah.
I didn't want him to die. If I could just relive pow and then pow, Groundhog's Day, and just relive it.
Catch and release.
Yeah, if I could, it would be so cool.
Great buck. All right, let him go.
I like to eat venison as much as anybody, but wouldn't it be cool if you could do that and let them get bigger every year?
Well, yeah, and especially just the history with that buck. It's like your hunting season isn't going to be the same next year.
Absolutely not.
You're at work. You thought about that deer every day at work.
Yeah.
So
I think about
why am I here?
Like, oh,
I still think about it, and I think about what went wrong, what I could have done better. I think about the respect of that deer and how much that one deer. I could stop hunting right now, believe it or not, and I'll say this honestly, God, I could stop hunting right now and be satisfied.
Yeah.
Because to me, will I shoot bigger deer? Probably. Will I shoot nicer rack bucks? Probably. Will I ever shoot a buck that's going to affect me emotionally, personally, and the way I do things like that one? Never.
Yeah, I was thinking of all the shit that one deer taught you.
Mm-hmm.
After you've been years and years and years in the woods and have plenty of experience, but that one deer can change the way that you think.
I never thought that ground scent would do that.
Yeah.
Would be that important. But I think as the bucks get older and they get smarter, I mean, that deer has been around all of us for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he just understands the ground scent. And, okay, he knows what it meant. And to me, it's like that changes a lot of the way I'm going to do things from here on out.
Yeah.
And hopefully other people can learn from it. And that's the biggest reason I do the quest for the 200 and all that stuff, more than anything. It's entertaining. I try to be funny. But deep down inside, I want people to learn from it so they can be better and shoot bigger and better deer than I ever have because they've learned something. That's my whole goal for all of this, is when they put me in the ground, I want somebody who's standing there to at least say, hey, I learned a lot from that guy.
Right.
And that... I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, you got
I know he
right
has.
Aaron, he'll say it.
I think I can speak. I think Nick, Garrett, Dylan especially.
Absolutely, Dylan.
Dylan is like a freaking sponge. Anything that I teach him, he learns, and he learns better than I've done it. Shot his first deer this year.
Yeah.
Shot it with his Marlin 30-30. Loves his 30-30, and it's a waffle top, baby. Ooh, waffle top. Not pre-drilled. Yeah. Wicked nice gun. Nice gun. Anyways, I love that thing. But, he shot his first deer. Dylan's my nephew, by the way. And if you're out there listening to this, I know you will because you listen to everything, Dylan. You're doing a good job. Keep it up. But He shot his first deer, which was a 6-pointer. I had on camera a ton. And when he first started hunting with me, he's like, I ain't shooting nothing but a big giant buck.
Until it comes in front of you.
Yeah. And I'll give him he has turned down button horns. He's turned down spikes, little fork horns. He's turned them down because he wants to shoot a big rack buck.
Yep.
This year, 16 years old, got his license, his fishing license, driver's license, hunting license, hunted the day he shot his buck. He was by himself, did everything I taught him how to do, used the wind correctly, entered the woods the right way, was wearing his Johnson coat, wearing his woolen pants. He was quiet, slow, methodical, and shot a buck.
That's awesome.
And it's going up from here.
Yeah.
So.
Good deal.
I'm gonna go hunt deer right now.
I'd like to.
Yeah.
I'd like to be out there shed hunting right now, but damn, the snow's too deep.
I went out last weekend, just jumped on a track. I brought the dog out, and then I got where you guys kind of drove past today. Got down in there, and the snow's like, it's got that like 3 inches of fluff and then crust, and then like another 6 inches. I'm like, I'm gonna die coming out of here.
Even on snowshoes, it sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. And I was worried about the dog. He's beating his legs up. So, what do we got for time here?
We are an hour and 5.
An hour and 5. You want to talk about camera mounts or calls?
Fam
Bam
Outdoors.
What about this grunt call?
I heard they work pretty good.
It's the best.
I haven't seen no grunt call yet.
Yeah, I only made a run of 10.
I got one.
Just go over what's Fam Bam.
So Fam Bam Outdoors was created. My daughter and I were dabbling with, thinking about video and hunts and just family outdoor activities, and we came up with the idea of starting a Facebook page where we like sharing our outdoor experiences with everybody, and we started it so that others could share to the page, and then we got into production when Rob posted a video of putting out his trail cameras and bitching about
I'm good at
them not having any way to adjust your camera without sticking a chunk of wood behind it. And so I went to the drawing board, and a week later I said, hey, I got an idea.
Me, hey, I got an idea for a camera mount. I'm like, what? Really? Already? And he shows me the pictures of it, and I'm like, this freaking kid's a genius.
Yeah.
And he kept improving them.
Yeah, it had a little bit of evolution where it
it's
started out as like 2 blocks. I mean, they were like an inch thick, and I was like, yeah, I can't. It would only work for like one style of camera. And I was like, no, I want it so it'll work for a bunch of different styles. So I went back and I changed the design, and that one was too flimsy, and it was just a pain in the ass. And then finally, eventually, we evolved with the design that we have now that seems to work pretty well for multitude of cameras.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I use it on everything. I got it on Exodus cameras, Primos, Wild Game, everything. It works on everything.
I got Spy Point. I run Spy Point cameras, and it works.
What is it?
well.
One that James has?
I don't remember what
Tacticam. Does he run Tacticam one?
I can't remember what he told me.
James has got a ton of different ones, but every camera we've got, there's only been like 1 or 2 that we've had to do a little anything really crazy with to make it work. But.
Yeah, it hooks into the bottom of the tripod. A lot of the new cameras have the tripod screw mount on the bottom.
Yeah.
The original design had a screw at the bottom. It still has a screw at the bottom, but we had to extend the piece of it because some of it didn't like the new
What the heck is that
Reconics?
one?
No, not
Not
Reconics.
Reconics.
What's the new?
Bush, not Bush.
What's the one that Armin's running?
I have no idea.
Reveal.
Reveal.
Okay,
yeah,
Reveal.
the Tacticam Reveal.
Yeah, the Reveal cams. The slot wasn't long enough for the screw to attach. It would make it on a wonky angle.
Mm-hmm.
So I redesigned the clip at the bottom.
I noticed that. I looked at it. You had that insert where you can almost adjust it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
Oh my God.
you can.
Pretty
It's
slick.
sliding, but it wasn't sliding far enough forward
Okay.
with the new reveals. So I took and revamped that so that it would accept the reveals and everything.
Sweet, dude.
But
Good deal.
the the grunt call ended up being just I was dubbing around one day and designed. Well, I guess we had gone to the tackle shack, and he had mentioned.
He'd asked us if we did the grunt calls.
Mentioned about grunt calls. Well, so I was like, yeah, well, I'll try to design something up. So basically, I designed up the barrel, the end that you blow in, and I printed up like 10 of them. And then I ended up buying, because I have to buy the components to make the guts and everything.
We looked into doing duck calls.
And but it's like...
It's not bad. You can buy bulk of it.
Yeah, I could buy them in a bulk of 10 with the reeds and the tubes, and it was like... Ended up being like $5 a piece.
Yeah.
But by the time you get done with the, printing the barrels out and everything else, you're at 12...
Yeah.
10 or 12 bucks.
They're worth $100.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you can go to Walmart or Kmart or
buy a Flextone for
$12.
Right.
But who the hell wants to buy?
I have probably 15 different grunt calls at the house, of all different makes.
Yeah.
And I like this one because of this or that. That one that he made it like squishes down so it's short. You can take the tube and squish it down, so it's only like that long hangs there. You don't even know it's there. It's thin. It's really light, and I keep trying to push Arron and saying, it is the most realistic grunt call I have heard. You hear a lot of these grunt calls that you buy, and even with the adjustments on them, they're too deep. Mm-hmm. They're too deep. That might work if you're in Saskatchewan and there's a 300-pound buck.
I definitely see that deep, yeah.
Well, how many times have you grunted at a deer that you know is out there, is not coming in, and it ends up being, I'm fucking out of here.
Exactly. And because to me, if I'm going to use a grunt tube, it doesn't matter if it's a big buck or small buck, I want it to sound like a smaller buck.
Exactly, yeah.
Because a small buck's going to fight a smaller buck. A big buck's going to fight a smaller buck. But a small buck doesn't want to fight a big buck.
Right, yeah.
So if I sound like some of those grunt tubes or the trophy tubes or something like brr, it sounds like James Earl Jones,
growling.
Yeah, no, you want something that sounds good. And that one sounds like, if you've ever heard a deer grunting in the woods when they're trailing a doe or they're grunting near another deer, it's like meh, meh, meh. And that big 8-pointer I shot a couple years back that I tracked all over the top of that mountain, when I thought it was a duck. I, honest to God, thought there was a duck flying over. I hear, meh, 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 sound like a duck. And there's this big-ass buck walking up the trail.
Wait a second.
So even a big monster buck doesn't have to sound huge. The bulls at the farm, they'll make those big, grumbly noises. But when they're trying to be soft or just being calm, they make baby noises. They make little noises. So the smaller you can make a grunt call sound, not smaller. I mean, you don't want to sound like a fawn, obviously.
Yeah.
But that call he makes has the perfect pitch. And it can get deeper if you pull that tube out. But the day I used it, I had it completely short, and I hit it, and it sounded like a 2.5-year-old little tough guy buck who thinks he's the man, And I'll tell you, Oddsy didn't like it. His buck, you'll hear in the video, I'm making a lot of noise. I'm really getting aggressive with it. And it wasn't to attract him as much as it was to make him stop. Because that deer had heard the grunt when I first did it. I think it sounded too deep to him. And I think that buck had his ass handed to him one or two times. And so I just kept making the noise just enough so he would get in the open enough to look where he could shoot. Because I know people are going to hear me doing that on the video and go, what is he doing? It's basically just to make him look.
Right.
To go, what the hell is that noise? Mm-hmm. But that call he made, and I make more. Because I swear to God, I know we can sell those things. Everybody out there, buy them. They're awesome.
Yeah. So with the camera mounts, we're going to...
We'll definitely do some, Arron over here definitely was nice enough to give a bunch out, so we'll definitely do a bunch of giveaways.
We're going to we're running them.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not giving them all away.
But no. But no, we'll definitely give them out so people can try them out and do some giveaways.
Appreciate it.
Hopefully get people talking about them.
If anybody's interested, where can they get a hold of you?
They can go on to Facebook under the Fam Bam Outdoors page.
Instagram,
Fam Bam Outdoors. Just send me a message and we can take care of you.
Give us feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
there's something that can be made better or
Adjusted,
something
yeah.
adjusted,
Yep.
we want to know about it because we want this to be your go-to thing. If you're
Something
putting
that's gonna be
cameras out,
helpful.
absolutely, because they work. And I'm telling you, I've got a lot of cameras out there, and they all have Fan Bam stuff on them, and they work. They're just good.
And Rob, where can people see your videos?
Hunter's Moon Productions on YouTube. We're on Instagram also, and if you want to contact me and ask me questions, because I like to tell people stuff, New Hampshire Shed Hunter at msn.com is my email, and
They can
We'd love
message
to
you on
hear from you.
Instagram too.
yeah, you can get me
Yeah.
on Instagram too. I think that's New Hampshire Shed Hunter on Instagram
Yeah.
also.
Yep.
I'm not the tech guy, but I'm pretty sure that's where.
And
it
you're
is.
pretty quick to answer.
That's-
Reply back to.
Yeah, I have a secretary that does that.
Yeah. I think that's who I talk to when I'm ever trying to get a hold of you.
Yeah, because I
Let
don't
me get him.
Yeah.
I don't have a smartphone or any of that kind of thing, so she does all that for me.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you guys coming over.
Oh, well, thanks
Oh,
for having
thank-
me.
yeah,
Yes.
thanks for
Stories
having
and
us,
give some
guys.
Good tips. So,
We'll come over your way in the summertime. Catch back
Absolutely.
up.
We got to do the catfish.
Yeah, I know. We were seriously.
Oh yeah, I'm going
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
catfish.
We go catfishing.
Good times.
Hopefully we get
Yeah.
the boat going. We'll all be out on the boat. So.
That'd be sweet.
I got a big canoe. Well, yeah, we got a big
Yeah,
canoe.
we know
so
you. Yeah, I'm not dragging that canoe anyway.
No,
You don't
that
need it
river's
for
that river's a beast. I got
Yeah.
that 18-footer. So
Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, you probably
Yeah,
don't want the
yeah.
canoe.
We're gonna need the baby stroller again.
yeah.
Alrighty, guys.
All right. Thanks a
All
lot.
right,
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, baby, when we're together, it's like Vegas times 3. But in the morning, I'll know better. 'Cause you're so bad for me. Just like a sip of wine leaves me to drink. You're my gateway drug. I'm starting to think it's gonna take much more than just 12 steps. So call Betty Ford, call Dr. Drew. Save me a bed, 'cause in a month or two I wanna quit you, girl. Just not yet. Yeah, baby, when we're together, you're the only drug I need. But in the morning I'll know better. 'Cause you're so bad for me. Barreling down the road past these city lights, you got your hands on the wheel, a look in your eye. I ask myself, is it time to slow down? But the night's still young, we're full of gas. Credit cards in my pocket with some limit left. And we got friends in the next town. Yeah, baby, when we're together, it's like Vegas times 3. But in the morning I'll know better. 'Cause you're so bad for me. Yeah, oh baby, when we're together, it's like Vegas times 3. But in the morning I'll know better. 'Cause you're so bad for me. Oh, 'cause you're so bad for me. 'Cause you're so bad for me. So bad for me.